What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Nick with Leverage Media, and welcome to another episode of Path to a Million podcast. I'm here with a new friend of mine, Dr. Naota Hashimoto with TrackStat. And Doc, say hello to the people.
How's it going? Looking forward to this.
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to this as well. TrackStat is a new software out in the mix in chiropractic. You'll probably start seeing it quite a bit. I see it all. For some reason, I get followed around the internet by your ads. Like they know that I love spending money on chiropractic software, and so I am the ideal person when you create those audiences. So we're going to talk a little bit about TrackStat, in the second half of the interview. But Dr. Hashimoto, you have created a large practice. We were talking before we started this. On kind of your path through the path to a million and beyond, and scaled it back, and now you're doing the TrackStat stuff. So let's kind of get into your progress through that path to a million. So
go
ahead. Sorry.
At first, I thought I had to be the best clinician. So I did, I don't know, couple hundred hours in continuing ed in my first year. I probably did 24 seminars before I even finished school. And I just learn ART, learn Graston, learn nutritional thing, learn functional medicine stuff. And I was taking all the stuff and, I was growing the practice when I was an associate for the first year that I was out. My wife is from San Diego. She did not like Seattle, so we left, and her dad has always loved Palm Springs, so we kind of came out here. And I was smart enough to hire a consultant when I left, because the guy that I worked for, he kind of mentored me quite a bit, and I learned a lot. And, I learned that I had to sell. So when I worked for that first guy in the first year, as much as I hated it, he told me I had to learn how to sell. And I thought selling was a dirty thing. I thought that I had to get snakeskin boots and get a mustache and start slanging used cars and stuff like that. And he just look, if you don't help this person, what are they going to do? I was like, well, they'll probably take painkillers. They've already tried physical therapy, maybe get epidurals till they quit working, and then eventually surgery. And he's like, so how have you served that person by not getting them to move forward with your treatment? And, for some reason that just clicked. And then I realized I need to start studying sales instead of studying functional medicine stuff. And when I started, I rented a room for $400. And by my 9th month, we cleared 62,500. So did pretty good. One staff. So
I would say that's not bad out of one room.
Yeah, and then the guy that I was renting space from decided to raise my rent to $2,500 when he realized that my practice was bigger than his. And I was like, well, screw that. I could just rent an office. So then that prompted me to kind of get my own space. And we grew that. I grew that to 1.8 million. Before I left, it was me, an acupuncturist, did massage. We didn't make any money on massage, and it was a lost endeavor. So it was just a very frustrating endeavor for me. And then we were doing a bunch of weight loss. So probably about several hundred K in chiropractic, probably 800 or so K. And then probably about $1 million in weight loss was kind of the breakdown. And then I decided to medically integrate at that point.
Well, before we get into that, let's back up for a second. So when you decided that sales was the thing that you really needed to conquer, what were some of the best training tools that you used, or some of the people that you studied from?
Honestly, Eric Breitmoser, if you guys remember him, he has that 5-minute ROF, and it was super simple. So I just took that, memorized it word for word, and I could you could roll me out of bed at 3 a.m, poke me with a stick, and I could just do it. Mm-hmm. And I practiced it in front of the mirror. I recorded myself. I listened to that. I practiced my mannerisms, and I practiced my intent. I remember the first coach I had, he asked me to record 2 of my consults and 2 of my ROFs, and they sent it back to him in 24 hours. And then he called me up and he's like, "What the heck's wrong with you?" And I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" He's like, "I've been asking my clients for this for a year and you just did it." I was like, "Well, I'm not paying you to be my friend." Right? So, like, that's that. And then like other sales book, like To Sell is Human, Daniel Pink. I do that for my case managers. I like Anthony Iannaro's stuff. He says, selling is something you do for someone and not to someone. And in our practice, we have, I don't try to train the docs on selling. I try to get them focused on serving. And then I get a case manager that has high grit, but high empathy. And that's kind of more our style. I'm not like a fear-based selling person. We're just very upfront, candid, high empathy. And it's kind of more my style. So.
Well, I love that. We'll have to talk a little bit more about the case manager side of things, but in terms of when you transition from the single office into a little bit more of a complex model, what were some of the I guess like things that you needed to learn? Because
there's a bunch of shit. So like, yeah, and then when we broke over 1 million, like we were. At that point, I was a micromanager, my wife was a micromanager, and we were able to kind of get it up to that 1.8 level with micromanagement. Mm-hmm. And then I love Scaling Up by Vern Harnish, or Traction by Gino Wickman, which kind of goes over that. I'm not a huge fan of the core value thing. Mm-hmm. I think that's a little bit too fluffy. But like, I like a lot of the other stuff in there. And then we started kind of implementing a bunch of those things, and we were able to scale our time a little bit better once we started implementing that. But like, you have to get good at selling, and then you don't have to be a marketer, but I think it's important to study marketing. Like, you look at the old stuff, you could look at Claude Hopkins, you could look at Dan Kennedy, you could look at, what's that guy from, why am I drawing a blank? But like, with marketing, I like studying copywriting. So you study that stuff. And even if you're not going to do it, I think it's important for the doctors to know about it. So if they're hiring leverage media, for example, they could contribute a little bit better. They could do a better testimonial, and they could be a better partner as opposed to just a client.
Yeah. The ones that understand marketing at like kind of like a basic level are always the ones that are like excited to do the things that I recommend to them or that we do for them, and they have to do their part because they realize like the importance of it. I would imagine that you're probably thinking of David Ogilvy if you're thinking.
Yeah, David Ogilvy. Yeah, that's what I was like drawing. It was like reading his stuff, and yeah, like I was hiring different marketing companies, and they weren't niched in chiro. Like, you'd hire like this agency, and they do like this BS branding thing and running these ads that just freaking sucked. Yeah. And then I decided that I'd start studying marketing, and then studied copywriting. I'd take all those. You'd see those fancy one-page ads written where they're selling a prostate supplement or a hair loss supplement, and I'd rewrite those things. I'd sit there and I'd just rewrite them and let it sink into my subconscious. And Dan Kennedy's got a great book, Ultimate Sales Letter, written in like 1980, and studied all of his stuff. I was in his mastermind at one point, and like that allowed me to kind of scale my time, because marketing is really just selling in advance, getting people intellectually engaged in a result that's good for them and getting them to follow through on that. And that's not me, that's Dan Sullivan. So, but it's getting those two things. And then at the next point, you're going to run into problems with either finances or people. And those are kind of like the next two pieces that kind of come together. I was, fortunate enough to marry my classmate, and she used to be a financial analyst, and she would help military contractors spend every penny of the government's money. So until she started hating her life for doing that, she did that for, I think, 3 years. And just didn't like it because the goal wasn't to save the government money. The goal was to spend every penny on this missile project or something like that.
Right, right.
So,
what do you think in terms of like, because I feel like the sales part is in the marketing side is something that chiropractors really struggle with. And why do you think it is that's such a sticking point, especially for people that have started their own practice and must know sales is
it's mindset, 100% mindset. Like, what did you do this morning before you did anything? Like, you probably got up, exercise. Like, so there's a book called Miracle Morning. I had a real hard time in my life, got that book, and then I dedicated myself to that. So like with the medical integration, listened to some advice from a consultant, ended up paying $700K to Medicare. So that was a painful check for me to write. Yeah. And then, I dedicated myself to the savers: silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing at the beginning of every day. And you got to get your mind right. And selling it's 100% about mindset. So like, I get up, I listen to my podcasts, my books, my whatever, I exercise, I write down something that I'm grateful for every single day. I have my vision board right there. I've written out everything that I plan on working for the quarter. I plan out my week based on the quarter. And then today, like, I wrote down the things that are important. So like, today is kind of like a focus day for me. So I literally will script out, like, block off time, what I'm going to do. So I did a webinar earlier for someone else. I did this. I had some demo calls. I had some sales calls, but it was like blocked out. And if you don't put in time for the important things, it gets filled with shit. Mm-hmm. Like Netflix or Facebook or I don't know. People, it's just, focus is such an important thing, and selling is 100% about focus and intent. Mm-hmm. And like before, back when I was doing consults, like I would pick up the chart, I would be prepared, and before I walk in the room, I just kind of do this kind of like Showtime from the Lakers, like, back when Magic was there, I go Showtime and I go cancer, and then walk in. And what I'm saying to myself is, if I don't help this person, they're going to get cancer and they're going to die. Now, it seems kind of silly, but that was kind of the mindset I had. Now, obviously, if someone's like wetting themselves and they got weakness in their legs and they got 𝒂𝒎𝒏 syndrome, we're sending them to the emergency room. I'm not going to try and set their L5, right? Like, a little common sense, but like, it's really about mindset. And then with the case managers, when people hire them, you have to kind of almost do a weekly debunking. And when they have their victories, celebrate it. When they get their closes, it's high fives all the time. So I'm a high five, fist pump type guy. So I like those things. And the girls like it too. And if they have like something that kind of didn't go right, I kind of role play and ask kind of how it goes. And the objection handling is, it's usually like, I can't afford it, or I need to talk to the spouse, or I don't have time. And those are easy things to handle. So like, if they say I need to go talk to the spouse, and, I just say, great. Because like, I've been married for 14 years. Totally get it. It's all about communications. Just out of curiosity, did they see your x-rays or MRIs? No. Did they do this? No. Did they read my book? No. And it's like, I ask them, it's like, so what were your plans if they were going to say no? And they say, I don't know. Like, but you have to have your objection handling kind of like beforehand. Yeah. And selling chiro is pretty easy because, like, you could do like, great, no worries. Why don't we just do a visit today? Here's a treatment plan. If you want to pay as you go, this is what it is. And if you want to do the treatment plan, pay the difference. When we started doing stem cells, that's when you really had to get good at objection handling, because you can't do a test treatment on them. Right. So, but yeah, it's, and I have fun with it. Like, I love selling. I think it's exciting. And once I kind of got over that headspace part about that we're just helping people, that was a mindset shift. Like, you don't sell people on our services if we can't help them. Like, you got to be ethical, but if you can help them, then it's your moral obligation and duty to make sure they get help. Because if you don't help them, they've already done PT. They might go back to pain management. They may get addicted to opiates, and eventually that fails, and then they're getting surgery.
Yeah.
Right. So
I think it's such an important thing that that so many doctors just don't spend the time to like understand that. And the way that you said it, it's not something you're doing to somebody; it's something that you're doing for them. I think it's such a good way of thinking about it. That book you mentioned, Miracle Morning, one of the co-authors, I think on that one is Cameron Herold. Is that right?
Well, 𝒂𝒏 is kind of like a chicken soup for the soul. So he's got Miracle Morning for this, Miracle Morning for that. So he's got a bunch of these other ones out there.
Got it. I think it must be like Miracle Morning for like entrepreneurs is the Cameron.
Yeah. It's like chicken soup for the soul, but like he's got a bunch of different versions of Miracle Morning. Cool story. Like I'd recommend the book. Essentially, it's a bunch of kind of mindset books kind of rolled into one book, but I've just kind of devoted myself to that for kind of like the last 4 years, and it just becomes a habit after a while.
Yeah. Let's talk about a little bit about those case managers, because I think that's unique. Not unique, but you don't see that very often where you have non-doctors doing the selling on treatment plans in a lot of offices. You said that you hired them with high grit or
high grit, high empathy.
High empathy, yeah. How are you testing those people? How do you find them that are good fits?
Well, realistically, like your best fits are probably going to be internal. You're going to find someone like the office manager I have. She's, great human being. She's total hippie, essential oils and stuff like that. She does not look like your real good closer, but she is a shark. She could close everyone because she cares so much about them and she wants to help them that she makes sure that they start. So she doesn't look like your typical salesperson. Like she looks like someone that you might see selling you essential oils, right? Like she's loves chiropractic, loves natural things and natural health, and she would look more like a hippie than a closer. So, but she does have that grit. So high empathy means like they really care about people, okay? And someone internal has to know about your services. Now, grit is kind of like their willingness to keep going even at failure. So if you're going to test this, if you're hiring an outside salesperson, like the easiest thing to do for this is you just put up an ad, say you're looking for a rockstar salesperson, and then you could call them up and just say, hey, my assistant accidentally double booked me for a call, so I only have like 3 to 5 minutes. I got to jump on another thing. So the ad said, I'm looking for a rockstar salesperson. Can you just tell me why you're a rockstar salesperson? And no matter what they tell you, how good of an answer it is, you cut them off. You don't let them finish. You cut them off. And you just say, hey, Nick, I told you I only have 3 to 5 minutes. Now we're already down to 2. I have another call. I'm not hearing why you're a rockstar salesperson. So it's like, just tell me why you're a rockstar salesperson, because I'm not hearing it. And then someone that has a lot of grit and that ego component where they're going to keep pushing forward, they're going to just call you out. It's like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I was number 1 at this company. It was number 1 at this company. I moved over here. I'm going to rock your business out. You are an absolute fool if you don't hire me. And so that is kind of like that grit / ego. So I like empathy, grit, and then yes, I guess a little bit of ego. And that's kind of like what I find. And then sometimes if you find those people, so just letting people know, when you find those people with too much ego and that grit and not enough empathy, is that they create some clashes with your culture too, with the other team members, because they think that they're too big to fail. So I've had some of those. I had a guy that he was awesome. I loved him and I didn't want to get rid of him, but essentially he threatened. He intimidated someone to the point where they were worried. And then I talked to my HR consultant and they said that I had to let him go, because if he accidentally punched someone in the face at that point, then they'd sue me. So,
I guess that's usually that's a natural break in the relationship.
Yeah, I liked him, but like, he went to the gym, he was very buff and he was cycling through his steroids at that point. So he was a little bit more aggro at that point.
Yeah.
But you know, you've been in practice for a while, you see a bunch of stuff. So
for sure. So let's talk a little bit about the medical integration side of it, and I think that'll lead us nicely into TrackStat. So you went from chiropractic and weight loss, doing about 1.8, highly profitable at that point, decided to medically integrate, and all of a sudden
we went highly unprofitable, and then we got to highly profitable because like we're in an area that was Medicare rich, and a lot of it's highly dependent on your payer mix in your area, right? So if you have certain insurance payers in your area that pay very well for the services that are recommended, it's easy to rock it out. But I was in an area that sucked, right? And so we spent a lot of money, didn't really make that much. It was a stressful year, and I bought some land and built a building, commercial building at that time. And then, you know, I just decided to start doing some of my own things instead of listening to kind of like all the stuff that the consultants were recommending, and just kind of found my groove. And then, yeah, we took it up because like we only went to like, I think 2.4 or 5 million, but like we were probably at 1.6, 1.8 million in overhead or something like that. So it was a lot. And then, yeah, just found our groove, took it kind of like mid sixes, like 3.5, 3.6. We hit 4 million in our top year. So it was, a lot of it was stem cells when we kind of found our rhythm, and we just kind of focused on pain management. Because like when we were trying to do everything, we weren't very good. And I found that felt like 80% of our complaints came from 20% of our services. And that 20%, like, yeah, it was 80% of our headaches, and our pain related services were where we got all of our revenue. It was like just your normal 80-20. And like I read, like one of my mentors, 𝒂𝒔𝒕𝒐, you know, he always talks about Southwest, and Southwest is wheels up. So this is kind of like why I don't like the core values, because like at one point we put down all these touchy-feely things that we wanted, and the staff begrudgingly repeated them. They had them memorized, but they didn't live it. But Southwest is wheels up. So what kind of planes we're going to buy? One kind of plane. What kind of parts do we have to have for one kind of plane? It's like one kind of parts, one kind of pilot. I got a patient that's an Alaska pilot, and when they bought Airbuses, he didn't know how to fly it because he only knows how to fly Boeings. So he can't even change the plane. So Southwest, they make more profit than all the other airlines, like the top 2 or 3, I think, combined. Don't quote me on that, but like I read that in an article. And, you know, they just focused on point to point. They load their planes in like, 20, 25 minutes. And all the other airlines, they just struggle to get it under an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. And it's just because they focused, you know, wheels up. Okay, we're going to have sandwiches on the plane. I don't know. It doesn't help us with wheels up. And everything was about wheels up, because when the plane's in the air, that's when we're making money. When the plane's in the air, we're getting our customers from A to B. So in our practice, our mantra is less pain, more gain. So it's got to be related to pain. It's got to be gainful for the patient. If we're going to implement a service in the office, it can't be painful unless it's really profitable. So like, because at one point I was a squirrel chaser. I was a professional squirrel chaser. And I'd go to these conferences and get this unit and add this service center and add that. And holy crap, it's like I just chase squirrels all over the place. I'd run into these holes. Sometimes I get bit by a snake. Like sometimes I'd come out with a golden nugget, but it was stressful just chasing after that. So in the practice, it's kind of related to pain related services, and that's kind of our niche, and we just focus on that. So, and the people I see that are successful, like clients that we have that do functional medicine that niche down into a couple of them, they do better. Clients that I have that niche down, and you don't have to be one thing. Like I have clients that do like a ton of PI, but they still balance it out with like some kind of other type of service. So
there's nothing wrong with I think sometimes people get confused that when they niche down, it has to be their like entire practice. And it just has to be the thing that you like focus on. You'll get all of the rest of it. You'll still get the referrals. You'll get the random patients that have nothing to do with that niche. but having that focus really allows you to, again, keep your team moving in the right direction toward the thing that you care about the most, whether it's profitability or, satisfaction or like whatever it might be. That focus is what allows you to move your practice forward.
It also allows you to help more people.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you're focused, you could serve more people in less time. Yeah. It also doesn't burn out your staff. So, we've had since 2015, since I figured out like the whole team thing. We've had no one quit. We've had people quit because they got pregnant. We've had people quit because they moved. But we haven't had people like just quit because they didn't like the job. We never had a problem with getting our staff to come back with the pandemic. We took 1 week off and then they came back. I have clients that had issues getting staff to come back, and, we treat them like, we treat them very well.
Yeah.
So, and growing a team is kind of like that part, I think, that takes you 500 to 1 million, unless you get really good at sales and marketing.
Yeah. And nobody's getting punched in the face these days.
No. Yeah. And that guy's a good guy, and that's when we had an office. He was having a bad day, and he's a good kid. I still talk to him. It was an unfortunate thing that I wish didn't happen. And then after talking to my advisor, they just said, "You're totally screwed if this guy blows up. You're screwed." So sucks.
So you scaled it up a lot. You had lots of staff, you had a lot of moving parts, and that seems to be the point where the beginnings of TrackStat started to happen. So talk to me a little bit about that and kind of the
like our practice is the height of complexity. We had spreadsheets and different CRMs and everything like that. And it looked like, I was a Blue IQ client at one point. It didn't quite work for our team. And I looked at all the other things out there. So like, I just ended up talking to some friends and, got together and hired a developer, and then hired a second one and a third one and a fourth one. But like, we built TrackStat essentially to solve all of our pain. Because at that point we were getting 120 to 160 new patients a month. And I was spending 20 to 35 grand a month on advertising. Not like 30, the whole year would be like probably about high 200s to 300,000. So it was a decent advertising budget. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to lose those leads. So we built custom workflows for making sure you can manage a workshop, manage leads that raise their hand from AdWords or Facebook and stuff like that. Because the problem when you have these outside CRMs, they don't communicate with your internal thing. Yeah. And then tracking those offline conversions, like the staff would forget to mark someone as booked an appointment, and they're getting these follow-up emails and texts saying, "Hey, where were you?" And it just it kills that trust. And it hurts kind of like the brand. So like, that's kind of like why we made TrackStat, because I wanted stats, I wanted all this practice management stuff, and I wanted a ton of automation stuff. Yeah. And that's essentially what we built, and I'm continuing to build. But essentially, I want like a mini Monday or a Trello inside there, a full-fledged kind of CRM. And, like, I would love to see more chiropractors successful. So like, going into like why this happened prior to the pandemic, the September before, like a little bit before that, my dad got sick, got cancer, and eventually died. But I remember like on his journey, he was just trying to figure out what his life meant. And I remember saying to my wife in kind of like September 2019, it just like, I don't want to wait till I'm 76 to figure out what my life stands for. And, like, I remember when I was younger, like we had no money, and like I was always thinking, if I made 100 grand take home, I'm gonna be happy. Maybe it's 250, hit 250, 500, do that. And it's like, oh, if I take home $1 million, I'm gonna be happy. And I remember when I collected $1 million take home, and I was like, what the F? I was like, I'm not that satisfied. Right. It just, it didn't have that much meaning. And I just, I kind of realized that it wasn't, obviously making money is nice, but like, I wasn't getting more fulfilled. I actually was happier when I hit my first 100K than I was when I hit that million. Like that was friggin' exciting to me.
Yeah.
And he was trying to find meaning. And, I see part of these different chiropractic groups, and I have people talk about subluxation, no subluxation, expanding the scope, or do this, help the profession. We're going to take more education, learn how to prescribe medications and all this BS. And I think that if we could take like 1,000 chiropractors, just 1,000, and put an extra $2 or $3 grand in their pocket at the end of the month, that's going to change the profession more than anything. So if they get like an extra 20, 30K at the end of the year, your average regular Joe chiro, that's going to make little Mary, little Johnny say that they want to be a chiro. Because, these kids in high school that say, oh, I want to be an anesthesiologist, it's like bullshit. It's like, I remember I was talking to a patient. It's like, I want to be an anesthesiologist. I was like, okay, so do you have any family members that are anesthesiologists? She's like, no. Do you have any friends' parents that are anesthesiologists? No. She's like, I just think it'd be a noble profession. I was like, bullshit. You just looked up the median income, and that's what you decided that you wanted to do. And, I have friends that are anesthesiologists. I have nothing against that, but call a spade. And I think that if we had more chiropractors like you that were successful, that had freedom of time and freedom of money to spend money on things that they had value on, then that's going to grow the profession like crazy. Yeah. People that are excited about this, and going medically integrated got me more excited about chiropractic, because when we were doing trigger point injections and having the people see the medical provider beforehand and all this other stuff, it wasn't exciting to me. And the pandemic has made me more excited about chiropractic than anything. Everyone has their own belief system, but I'm of the belief system that, our bodies were created perfect. We have a strong immune system, sleep, vitamins, water, and I'm just not a vaccine guy. But that's kind of like my core value. I don't judge people that aren't that way, but it's with the pandemic has kind of turned me more onto chiropractic, because it's I have a high affinity for those people.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So, and now we have TrackStat, and it's going to put all the money in everybody's pocket.
Yeah, and then you got me on here to talk about TrackStat, and we're BSing and talking about everything but TrackStat.
Well, I like to talk about all the other stuff too, but
it's stuff that's interesting to other people, I think. So
I agree. And it gets people to know you as a person, which I think is important to, especially when it's a chiropractor who is creating a service or a product within chiropractic. A lot of times, when people sign up with Leverage Media, they're buying into 𝒂𝒔𝒊𝒐𝒏, not always into Leverage Media. They're happy with Leverage Media once they get into it, but when they say yes, it's they're really trusting me that I know what I'm talking about. And this is the first real conversation that we've had outside. I'm a TrackStat client, and everything that we've talked about so far has been very TrackStat oriented in our conversations. But this conversation, we have a lot of things in common. It gets me excited to we're in the same we're in UAC together now, and so it gets me excited to meet in person so that we could chop it up a little bit more. And I think that that these types of interviews allow people to really kind of get to know somebody in a way and decide is that somebody that I want to do business with. So I'm the same way. You buy the person, but getting into this, a lot of people, they have appointment reminders. We got appointment reminders, got the reviews, got the two-way texting, got the automations, got the marketing blast. One of the biggest differences with ours is you could really drill down and get very specific. So with appointment reminders, if you have just 4 people that always forget their appointments, you could actually click and give those 4 individuals a second appointment reminder. With birthday drip campaigns, for example, you could say, happy birthday, come in for a free adjustment if you have these insurances and you spent say $400 or more in the practice,
come in for a free adjustment.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a compliance person, so it's up to the insurance people to decide what they're comfortable saying, but you could have a regular happy birthday and a VIP happy birthday. And once that stuff's set up, then it's automated. And like a lot of these softwares, they have these reactivations, but like they're trying to reactivate everyone. And they'll say, I want to reactivate everyone. And I was like, bullshit. You just want to reactivate kind of like your premium patients. If someone came in for a free cup of coffee and a free consultation, I don't think they should be treated the same as someone that came in for 46 visits that had to go out of state to help their mom because she fell and broke her hip. And she came back 6 months later and she just totally forgot about Dr. Nick Silveri's office.
Yeah.
And it's just so like treating those people a little different, I think, is important. And we have, I guess, daily workflows. So like we have that appointment report. You can see who's coming in that doesn't have a future appointment. You can see who has a balance. You can see kind of like, you could trigger automations. We have a lot of custom reporting in there. And I think that, I know you're a TRP person, so we're going to be rolling that TRP stats dashboard here pretty soon. And I think one of the hard parts about Dr. Franzen's report is tracking those like people that hit milestone 1, re-exam 1, 2, 3, like tracking those is a pain. And another thing that we could do with ours very easily is you could see how many, say, neuropathy people you had in your chiropractic practice in the last week. Mm-hmm. So there's a bunch of stuff, and obviously they just go to.
Let me kind of put a pause because sometimes I think you kind of gloss over things because you're just used to it a lot. But I'll tell you that I see a lot of softwares. I use a lot of different softwares. I try things out. I see if it works or not. And I really was impressed with with TrackStat. And the biggest thing for me was that it made it very simple to track individual people through their life cycle in the practice. So one of the struggles that we have in my practice is making sure that we are doing a good job of tracking how people go from, day 1, day 2, conversion, first re-exam, and then into the second care plan. And it's always a thing that we're kind of grappling with and struggling with, and retention is one thing that we're always trying to grow. And the thing that got me the most excited about TrackStat was I was like, man, this really solves this problem that I have always had, because it allows you to keep track of every person who has started individually. So like Mary Jones, Barb Smith, so on and so forth. And that way it like puts a name to it. Like for me as the CEO, I want to see the big picture numbers. I want to just look at the conversion percentage and the PVA. But for the doctors, for the associates, they know these people. And they're like, what happened to Barb Jones, right? How, like, I need to give her a call. But sometimes when we don't have that list of names in front of us and something that's, automatically populating, when we don't have that, it makes it more difficult to keep people on track. You end up with credits that you don't want to have to deal with, and just people that aren't getting the results that they want, which don't lead to referrals and so on and so forth. So that was the thing that really struck out to me. But then when I got on the demo, I'm like, man, it does all this other stuff. Like it brings in a lot of the things that the text message reminder companies do. But it's integrated, it's obviously integrated with ChiroTouch, which I use. But the other thing that I really liked about it was, your tagging system, because I'm very familiar with like marketing CRMs, where the tagging is really what makes all the difference in the world, and to like be able to automatically tag people. So you're like, you're sometimes a little bit casual about like how great this software is, but I really do think that it brings together things that I've never seen put together in chiropractic. I've seen it in marketing, but I've never seen it. Like, I feel like you brought a marketing brain to chiropractic software, which I thought was really exciting.
I've done a bunch of marketing, used a bunch of CRMs, and got a little cute with the name. So like it's stat. So the problem I have with statistics, it's a lagging indicator. So it gives you an idea of the problem after the fact, but like it's that tracking, that patient management part, that really drives those stats. So like the way we kind of have designed TrackStat from the beginning is trying to make it more of an activities driven software. So as long as Mary comes in and does all of her activities for the day, that's going to drive the stat, because realistically, Mary at the front, the phone's ringing, patients are coming in, patients are coming out, needing to reschedule, doc hands up and asks them to do an MRI requisite, and all this stuff is happening, and they have these 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute micro chunks where they have a little bit of free time, and for them to figure out, who do I need to call? What was their name? What was their problem? Do they have a next visit? It's really easy in TrackStat to get all that information in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And you just have a list of, you just call and text these people, and we try to make it as minimal clicks as possible. So we're always just trying to figure out, how can we make this easier? So right now we're adding a number of different features, but very shortly, we're going to continue going for the rest of the year, just trying to focus on less clicks, making it easier, making it, like making certain lights kind of blink in a certain order, prompting them to do certain activities. So my goal is to change the profession by making them run a business better.
And I really do think that a lot of the softwares that I see, it's like they fill a need if you already are like, running a bit. It's kind of like in marketing where, like what we do is I try to bring like a holistic approach to, here are all the different things that I think a chiropractor should be doing. And we've thought through how to make all of those easier. What a lot of offices do is they'll go out and they'll find like one little piece. Like I want someone to, or they'll hire a specific piece, like running Facebook ads. Well, they don't really know how the rest of it may work together, or like how that could help the practice. They just know that like their friend in their chiropractic group has been successful with Facebook ads, so they want to do it. And I feel like a lot of chiropractic softwares will do that, where it's like they'll plug a hole, they'll solve a problem, but it like leaves all this other stuff out. And I feel like your software does a really good job of being a little bit more holistic when it comes to kind of like you said, you created this, this all started by trying to solve the problems that you were having in your own practice. And you can really tell that there was a lot of thought put into all the different components, because some of the components have nothing really to do with each other individually, but when they all start working together, I think that I'm at least excited for my own practice to really get it implemented, to really start to see those differences, because we
got some stuff coming out in the fall that's going to be pretty good too. So we're doing an integration with Genesis, starting that in a week, and then doing one with Eclipse very shortly. And then, plan is to probably do Platinum or something like that eventually. But just making it more of a Monday, Trello, Asana component in there. Now, obviously, like Monday's now a publicly traded company, so like not quite that big. We don't have 800 employees writing lines of code and stuff like that. But, just trying to make it one login, very simple, because some offices will even forget what software they're using and they forget to log in. They're just busy. And we're just trying to make it as simple as possible to make this work for a practice with one doc and one staff, or like 4 providers, 2 front desk, and a bunch of CAs and stuff like that. Now, obviously, the complicated practices are easy. Like I had a couple demos today where I did it, and one of the guys had an MD, a nurse practitioner, associate chiro himself. He's doing PI insurance and a bunch of stuff, and he's like 10 minutes into the Zoom demo, and he's like, send me the contract. What do I have to do to sign up? And it was just, he didn't even need to see the rest of the stuff. He just like, it solved enough pain at that point.
Right.
So for him, like $299 a month is like a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, exactly. That, that's the thing. It's with any of this stuff, when you're in that, $300 a month price point, if it solves any problem, it's worth it, because usually, especially like with the pain point that I really had that attracted me to it, was just being able to track those people. If it just keeps one person on their care plan that would have dropped off otherwise, it's paid for itself. And then,
yeah, like even if they're collecting $50 a visit, it's 6 visits a month. And if you're seeing 100 visits a week, it's not unrealistic to see an extra 10 or 15 visits a week. So they could pay for the thing. And then plus, like if it replaces their texting and review and like scheduling component, they're paying like $200, $300 a month for. Now they're kind of in profit. Now you get stats with it, and then you get this patient management. So, just trying to make it one login, one solution. So, obviously I'd love to show people on here. I didn't want to be self-serving and just talk about my stuff and, talk about other things, sales, marketing. And I would say that I'm the world's best manager. I know what to do, but I know that I am not the person. So like, another thing that we didn't talk about on the call, I would say a huge skill that I learned that everyone has to learn if they want to scale is how to hire. Mm-hmm. So there's a book, I don't know if you read it, the A Method for Hiring. And then there's another one, Top Grading. Changed my life. It's just how to hire the right people and ask the right questions. So like but like once we figured out how to hire the right people and kind of like bring them into our family and kind of ramp them up, that's when I quit being a micromanager. Because when you hire really good people, you don't have to micromanage them. You kind of show them the way, tell them kind of the rules of engagement, and they kind of move along. And occasionally shitty stuff happens in their life, and you kind of bring them back a little bit. And we do like at least a monthly check-in with them, have a coffee with them, see how they're going. And that's pretty much it. But like those 2 books, like learning how to hire people, huge. Like,
what were the 2 again?
The A Method for Hiring by Dr. Brad Smart. And then Top Grading is his brother, I think Tom or something like that. Another Dr. Smart, but Top Grading and the A Method for Hiring. So the A Method for Hiring is kind of more nuts and bolts. And then Top Grading is kind of high level, but it goes over that. But I read them both, and it's a skill that you have to have. Like we're hiring a new associate doc. So, you went to the landing page, read the preliminary stuff, attached his CV as a PDF, did a preliminary interview with the office manager. I like that because, you see if they have any arrogance. Because if they want to just talk to the doctor, that means they're going to be a little bit arrogant. And, she'll just say, hey, sometimes we get a little bit busy, like, would it be okay if you had to take out the trash sometime? Because we're looking for someone that's a good caregiver, but not a ton of ego. And we want someone that's willing to take out the trash. They never take out the trash. But like the point is, we're looking for like a team member that's willing to take out the trash. Yeah. And then when we do the actual interview, there's 3 of us in on the interview. So my wife comes in, she just studies mannerisms, body language, active listening, maybe ask them a really tough question. The office manager's the lead. We've already gone through all the stuff. And the key when you're interviewing them is have them do 80% of the talking, and you do most of the listening right there. Because most of the time in the past, I used to do a ton of talking like I'm doing right now, but like you want them to do all the talking, and the goal is in the second, the third questions. You'll ask them about their job and what the superior would say about you. Why would you think that? And why about this, and a difficult problem. But the goal is in those second and third and fourth questions. And then my job in the interview is to just make sure they're clinically competent. So I'll ask them, like say shoulder impingement, hip OA. I'll be a fake patient, and I get them to adjust me, get them to adjust that. And, we do a drug test, a background check, and then we actually have them set up interviews with not just their references, but the previous places that they worked. Because if they're a good team member, they're not going to have a problem doing that. So this person worked at the Joint for 1.5 years, set it up. Supervisor said, absolutely amazing human being, great clinician, great this. Next person said amazing things. So passed the drug test, passed the background check, did this. Now we got into the money part. That seems to be working, and, just trying to find a start date. But there's a high likelihood this person is going to succeed as long as the first like 60 to 90 day ramp up period goes well.
Yeah. Yeah. I like all of us have probably lucked into some A players, but to have a system like that to where you're weeding out the non-A players and you're ending up with only A players, there's just nothing like having a lot of those in your life.
Well, and the best way to keep A people is to have other A people, because A's love hanging out with A's. And if you have a really good actor somehow sneak into your practice, they will get driven out. So if they're a dishonest person and you have high integrity amongst all your A players, they're going to get voted off the island by the other team members. They're going to just leave because they feel very uncomfortable there.
Yeah.
So it's, but yeah, it's important. I treat it like we're a family and we're bringing someone into our family.
Yeah. I love that. So if somebody wants to set up a demo, find out more about TrackStat, what's the best place to go?
Just trackstat.org, TrackStat.org. They could text me at 760-334-5013. That's 760-334-5013. I always like to repeat the number twice, let it stick.
Just in case, we got the phones out.
Yeah.
I strongly recommend anybody. Right now, it's just with ChiroTouch, but it sounds like Genesis and Eclipse are coming soon. But you could probably do the demo even if you have one.
Yeah, I could do the demo, and by the time we kind of get there, it's just going to be better. So like we are constantly improving it. So now we have 4 on our dev team. So we're making a fair bit of headway. You'd say it's like, well, why don't you hire more to make it go faster? And the easiest way to explain that is it's kind of like if you had 2 chiropractors trying to adjust the same patient, it doesn't go any faster, it goes slower. Right. So like you have to have like different areas to kind of work on. And like we don't have enough new things to kind of work on to make, I guess the main guy doesn't think like an extra person is going to make it go that much faster. So that's just the way that the developers feel. So
fair enough. Well, I would strongly recommend getting a demo set up, finding out more about it, seeing for yourself if it would help your practice. Naota, anything else that you would like to add in some closing thoughts to all those chiropractors out there that are looking to be a successful?
I think the first thing is just that morning ritual. Like I think that's the first part that you need to do this, and you need to kind of remember why you got into this. I actually was the summer out from going into dental school. My parents wanted me to be a dentist. I didn't know anything about dentistry. My parents said they make good money. You need to be a dentist. Some of my mom's cousins were dentists. And I just didn't have passion for that. I got in a head-on car accident. Someone went flying into my lane, made a right turn, lost control, went into my lane, hit me, stretched my alar ligament, got a disc bulge in my neck, got a disc bulge in my back, hypermobile left side of my pelvis, 6 months of PT twice a week. I got better with that, but I still had headaches every single day, and I had sciatica. Went to a chiropractor, changed my life. He fixed me, and he fixed my acne, who my dermatologist that I was going to for every 3 to 4 months for 5 years said it was my hormones. And it turns out that Wendy's double junior bacon cheeseburgers, Doritos, and Coca-Cola were not good for my skin. So like that's where I met my wife. And I think if people could just kind of remember why you kind of got into this and just kind of dig into that and get fired up about what you do, because I think we do an amazing service for the world. We do amazing. It's like we help people naturally get off their medications. Yes, some people need surgery, some people need injections, but I can't tell you how many miracles we've had in our office, just like you guys have had, just like all the listeners on the phone, and just really celebrating those victories and like not letting the shitty stuff enter your head. So just do a mental reset every single day, and just take a couple of things each quarter and just focus on those and just start digging away at the practice and listening to podcasts like this, reading books, listening to audiobooks. And I, obviously love to work with people and help them scale. But I'm not interested in helping them scale with marketing. So, like working with leverage media. And even though they work with companies like yours, like I think just becoming a student, learning marketing, learning copywriting, learning sales, you don't have to be an expert, but like having some level of familiarity with it, I think is important. I think that the listeners would be doing them a huge disservice if they don't do this, because if we don't help more people, they're going to try and seek a solution somewhere else. And that's usually medications. I have nothing against physical therapy, but they don't do anything with joints. But so a lot of these people go with medications, epidurals, ablations, and then eventually surgery. So,
and a lot of them just don't do anything, and they just suffer, and they are miserable, and it affects part of their life.
It's like you could change people's lives. And I had my life changed by a chiropractor. And, my goal is to change as many people's lives. And I know that if I serve them myself, I could help a bunch of people, but I can't help as many people as if I use a software to help people scale their ability. And that's kind of like my big vision for the future. And, when I'm 76, hopefully I live longer than that. But like when I start approaching the end of my life, it's like, I need to know what I stood for. And my mission is to kind of make sure that chiropractic grows, not shrinks.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I love that, and I look forward to kind of following the path as you do more and more of that. So anybody that is interested in doing a demo, go to trackstat.org, and we will see you on the next episode.